They have all of the kids wearing masks and they have them keeping their head down. They're telling them to hide their face. Many of these kids go missing.
I've even had a little friend. I can't remember her name, but she said she didn't know where she would go.
And MVM is an organization that has moved thousands of people. You do not work for MVM?
I'm on vacation.
You said that you were on vacation and now you're moving this small child to the airport. I thought you were on vacation. Do you have any comment about the children that have gone missing that you've helped to escort across the country? 2 children were delivered to a sponsor that lives at this address. But as you can see, nobody lives here, and honestly, it doesn't look like anybody's lived here in quite a long time. There's kids in the car here. They're moving these kids. They just turn the lights off.
We owe a debt of $10,000 for me, and another $10,000 for my brother.
The van that we just confronted, they are now taking off. We are following them. This van is now trying to lose us. They're driving through this neighborhood that's headed absolutely nowhere.
Are a lot of the kids coming over there, are they trafficked or like what's the...
Some are, I'm not gonna lie to you, some are.
She cried because she didn't know what they would do with her. We went to sleep, and in the morning, when I got up, she was gone.
Since 2021, an average of 400 unaccompanied children are smuggled into the United States every day. These children, who cross into the United States without parents, are subsequently detained, processed by the federal government's Unaccompanied Children program, and eventually released into the country. On August 19, 2024, the Department of Homeland Security announced that they had lost track of over 300,000 of these children. In June of 2024, a government insider from the Department of Health and Human Services provided Muckraker with a list detailing the names of over 8,000 alien children, along with their last known addresses. So, we began an operation to find the missing children ourselves. Over the course of our investigation, we discovered the dangerous places where children had been delivered, confronted a CIA contractor who moves these children, heard shocking stories from children who the federal government has lost track of, and exposed a child trafficking network in Florida. This report brings to light the fate of the forgotten children who have fallen victim to the criminal negligence of the United States federal government. Children who enter the United States illegally and without parents are subsequently detained and placed in holding camps, while the Office of Refugee Resettlement works to find the child a permanent home through their Unaccompanied Children program. The goal of the Unaccompanied Children program is to place alien children with vetted sponsors, who are typically family members or close family friends. However, we discovered that while in federal government custody, some children ask to be sent back to their home country, but are instead taken away in the middle of the night and sent to sponsors who they do not know. It is also well documented that this program has placed children in the hands of criminal organizations, such as MS-13, as well as labor and sex trafficking rings. We began our operation by door-knocking the addresses associated with the most vulnerable children on our list, focusing on the youngest, who were the most likely to be victims of trafficking. One of our first finds was an abandoned house, where 2 boys, aged 7 and 10, had allegedly been delivered.
We are at this house here, 321 Broadway in Amityville, New York on Long Island. Allegedly, 2 children were delivered to a sponsor that lives at this address. But as you can see, nobody lives here, and honestly, it doesn't look like anybody's lived here in quite a long time. So we're not too sure where those 2 children went. It was 2 young boys that were sent here. We're not too sure where they are or if they're even still in New York or even in the country anymore.
Our investigation eventually led us to the projects of the Bronx, where we found a girl who told us a horror story from inside the facility she was detained in at Pomona, California.
How many days were you in Pomona, California?
I was there for 35 days.
35? Did you ever hear anyone say they didn't know where they were going?
Well, I remember 2 kids. One said she didn't know where she was going, and the other said she didn't know what would happen. And then, 2 days before I came here, one night before, she cried because she didn't know what they would do with her, We went to sleep, and in the morning, when I got up, she was gone. They had taken her away, and she wanted to say goodbye, but they wouldn't let her.
They wouldn't let her?
No, I don't know what happened.
Because they get them up at 4 o'clock in the morning?
3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
And they said,
They do not allow it,
pick up everything you're leaving?
and they take them away. It gives me the creeps.
Where was your friend from?
One was from Honduras, and the other was from Guatemala. Well, she was a good friend of mine before that. She always cried and told me her sorrows, and she told me to give her my Facebook. I always waited for her to send me a message, and I never got anything from her.
And how old was she, if you remember?
16. She was 16.
Did you ever hear others say they had asked to be sent back and they wouldn't let them?
Yeah, I heard that.
The federal government uses contractors to move children from detention centers, like the one this girl was held at, into the hands of their sponsors. One of these contractors is MVM, a private security contractor with ties to the CIA, NSA, FBI, and Homeland Security. Over the past few years, MVM has secured contracts worth tens of millions of dollars to escort detained alien children into the hands of their sponsors. We flew to McAllen, Texas, a major hub where detained alien children are located, and were able to track down MVM contractors as they were moving children.
Excuse me, is this MVM?
No.
We have footage here that a lot of these children don't know the sponsors that they are going to. What's going on? There's kids in the car here. They're moving these kids. They just turned the lights off. This is the MVM headquarters that we are currently at. There are kids in this van right here that they are moving. There's somebody that's gonna come out. Let's see what they have to say. Hey, are you a manager here? Hey, we've spoken to some of these children and they tell us that they don't know a lot of times the sponsors that they're going to. Do you have any comment on that at all?
No.
This is MVM, correct?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Excuse me. What's going on here? There they go. And notice they got out of here in such a hurry that they just left their bags here. Think about that. They got out of here. We don't even know what's in those bags. They just left them there and they took off in the van in such a hurry because that's how secret this operation is. They do not want you to know what is going on. That van that we just confronted, they are now taking off. We are following them. We believe that they're taking these kids to the airport. We have talked to some of these children that you guys escort, and some of these children have told us that their friends don't know the sponsors that they're going to. Are you okay with that? Excuse me, why are you all wearing masks? Do you have any comment on that? Why are you hiding your identity? Do you have any shame, sir? There's still time to redeem yourself. Would you like to see the footage that we caught of the girl admitting what's going on? Were their IDs even checked just there? Were their IDs even just checked? Who checked their IDs? I didn't see any ID check just there. There was no ID check. Right. Why weren't their IDs checked? If I was going to go here...
I can't talk to you about that.
If I'm going to ask you, why do you guys ID American citizens when those children can't do you guys an ID number?
I'm not going to say anything on camera.
Are a lot of the kids coming over here, are they trafficked or like what's the...
Some are. I'm not going to lie to you. Some are.
Does that happen a lot that the kids come over here with a totally fake name?
It has.
Yeah?
There's no way for us to verify.
And so they come over here with a fake name and then they just come over with one. They just get a brand new identity. They could be anybody.
Have you seen that movie?
Sound of Freedom?
Yeah, Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Exactly like that.
You guys get the kids coming over here with the notes that are attached to them with the addresses, right? And a lot of times those addresses lead to like a sex trafficker or something, right? That's legit.
Yeah. There's a lot of that we can't tell.
What's the issue though? Why can't you guys talk on camera?
It's the policies that we have, the things that we can and can't say.
But why don't they want you talking on camera? Politics. What, like making the administration look bad? Or...
Yeah.
Damn.
Honestly, bro, I really wish there was more people like you.
Yeah.
Exposing this shit.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. It truly is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
It is a horrible thing. But me, I can't do that.
You could blow the whistle on it.
No, I can't.
You could, but you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, exactly.
You work for MVM, and MVM is an organization that has moved thousands of...
I don't work for you.
You do not work for MVM?
I'm on vacation.
We've now landed in Houston, and it appears as if MVM has requested a police escort because they don't want media exposing what they're doing. But if you look, they have all of the kids wearing masks and they have them keeping their head down. All of the kids wearing masks, keeping their head down. They're telling them to hide their face. Many of these kids go missing. You said that you were on vacation and now you're moving this small child to the airport. I thought you were on vacation. Ma'am, I thought you were on vacation. What happened to that? Do you have any comment about children that have gone missing that you've helped to escort across the country?
As we worked our way through the list provided to us by the government insider, we encountered sponsors who, for various reasons, no longer had the child. Some told us that they had given the child to somebody else. Others said that the child had returned to their home country. One such case involved a 14-year-old girl named Linda, who had been placed with an unrelated sponsor in Nashville, Tennessee. When we knocked on her sponsor's door, we were told that she had since moved to Louisiana. We were eventually able to track her down and found her living in a rundown neighborhood on the outskirts of New Orleans.
When you were in the shelter in Pomona, California, did you at any point hear other kids say that they didn't know where they were going to? Yeah? And that they didn't know who they were going to live with?
Yes.
Yes? Did you hear that many times?
Yes. I've even had a little friend. I can't remember her name, but she said she didn't know where she would go.
How old was she?
Same age as me, 13.
This was something you saw happening not only with your friend, but many other children as well, right?
Yes,
And did you at any point want to go away?
I did.
And was it because you didn't like where you were?
It was because of my aunt's character, my sponsor's character. She was like, if you don't pay me for this, you're not going to get that. If you don't buy your food, you're not going to eat, and so on.
Can you elaborate a bit more about how she ran you off? Where did you go?
Well, I slept in the street. I slept in the street in the cold weather. Then I talked to a friend. I had to stay in his car with a bedsheet bearing the cold. I couldn't eat. I had no money to eat.
Do you feel you were forced to work by your aunt?
Yes. She would tell me that if I didn't have money for rent, that she would kick me out. That's when she talked to the lady who raised me, my mom. And she started telling her that she was going to take me out to the street. That if I didn't give her what she wanted, we were going to be in trouble. And to this day, she's still charging me $4,000 for my trip from Honduras. When I was in school, one of the reasons why I dropped out was because she was harassing me. She kept blackmailing me, saying that if I didn't go back to live with her, that I was never going to see my mother again.
Before we visited you, did anyone from the government ever contact you from the shelter? Did they ever visit you?
No, never, so far. I rather think that if they would have tried to contact me, when I had no place to sleep, I would have gone.
You mentioned on the phone that you did see many things on the way up here.
Yes.
Did that involve girls about your age?
Yes, and they raped her. When I was leaving, when I was coming to Monterrey, they took us off the bus. It was like a truck. And they counted us all. I was on this side, and those two girls were here. A woman grabbed them and said she was going to take them to a whorehouse. And at that moment, a middle-aged man said, "No, I'll play with them first." He took them into the car, and we could only hear how the girls cried.
does she think?
How old, if you could remember, more or less, how old did they look? About your age?
Yes, they were about the same age. One was 13 and the other 14.
Why doesn't she?
The drivers who were driving were killed.
Did the drivers get shot?
Here. First they hit them on the head with boards, and then later, when they were all beaten and their faces were covered in blood, they were shot here.
Wow.
The three states which have received the most alien children since 2021 are Texas, California, and Florida, with each state taking in over 10,000 per year. We were tipped off by a government insider about a suspected human trafficking case in Florida. We learned that two Guatemalan illegal aliens named Baltazar and Juana had requested to sponsor 13 children across 5 different addresses in Bonita Springs, Florida. Even more concerning was that these same addresses were also being used by other illegal aliens who were attempting to sponsor children. At one particular house, 4 different adults were sponsoring at least 13 children. We were told that this case had been referred to the FBI, HSI, and HHS, but after sitting on the case for months, nothing was done about it. We were able to track down a brother and sister from Guatemala who had been delivered to the trafficking ring a few years prior. They claimed that a trafficking debt has been held over their head for years and explained the details of a labor trafficking system that targets children.
Could you please tell us your name and whether or not you have any debts?
My name is and we came here with a, how do you say, we have a debt of 10,000 in my name and 10,000 in my brother's name to Mrs. Juana. And this lady demands a lot from us. Baltazar and Juana take in a lot of children here and put them to work. Sometimes they take them in one by one, and these children come to their house and they say to them, tomorrow. What I mean is that they find a job for each one. Baltazar finds them a job, he contacts a company, then he tells them, you will start working tomorrow. There are others to whom he says they have to find their own jobs. Because sometimes Baltazar can't find work for these children. And he tells them to wait at the stop for someone to pick them up for work.
What is the youngest child you have ever seen? What is the youngest? 5 years old, 10 years old? How old? What is the youngest child you've ever seen with Baltazar?
5 years old. I lived with them for a couple of months, but I left because I didn't like it, because they were always drinking.
So the people in charge of the 5-year-olds drank a lot?
Yes, they drank.
And the men who lived in the house, who were they? Baltazar's friends?
Yes, Baltazar's friends. They didn't live in rooms, but imagine this house, and someone says there's a room to rent here. They put the person in the living room, and that's it. There are beds here, beds there, beds everywhere.
And when Juana threatened you, did she find you, call you, or how did she do it?
Yes, she found me because she got angry when I left. She got angry when I left, so she asked me for money.
And is this lady threatening you?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of threats does she make?
She threatens, as I told you, mentioning a judge, that she's going to take something from us, that she's going to deport us.
The disastrous border policies of the Biden-Harris administration are only one dimension of the U.S. federal government's complicity in the mass trafficking of children. The entire migration pipeline, from South America up to the U.S. southern border, is controlled by networks of human traffickers who funnel tens of thousands of alien children into the United States every year. For many alien children, crossing the U.S. southern border is only the beginning of their problems. What you have seen here is a mere glimpse into the ever-growing child trafficking industry in the United States. During our 3-month investigation, we encountered numerous children who found themselves in dangerous and desperate situations after passing through the federal government's unaccompanied children program. One such child was this 15-year-old girl named Pamela, who found herself homeless in Nashville after her sponsor threw her out. When we found her, she showed signs of self-mutilation. Under the Biden-Harris administration, federal agencies and NGOs have been granted hundreds of millions of dollars to place vulnerable children in the hands of domestic trafficking networks. The only way to end this crisis is to immediately secure the U.S. southern border. The need for action has never been greater.